literal squirrels on the roof.
There are squirrels on top of the box that we are recording in.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, this is the Witches, Magic, Murder, and Mystery Podcast.
I am Kara.
I'm Megan.
Yeah,
It's Tuesday.
Yeah, I got a side piece for you.
Yay.
This one made me want to dive into a rabbit hole that we are always like, yeah, we probably should dive into this rabbit hole, like the Kennedy rabbit hole. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of Dr. Feelgood or
No.
Miracle Max from back in the day?
Is it Miracle Max from a movie?
Maybe.
I feel like I can't picture it.
Yeah, well, this is the real one. He worked miracles, but not really.
I could just be thinking of, The Princess Bride, Billy Crystal.
Oh,
I don't think that's the same thing.
Gosh. To
Yeah.
play the means to lie.
Yeah.
Liar, he said, true love.
I'm sure everybody's seen The Princess Bride, but if you haven't, you must.
That's our next watch party.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Megan and I will just reenact it.
Yes. And then we'll do Tombstone. I get to be Doc and you get to be Wyatt.
Perfect.
Okay.
That's going to be amazing. Okay. The doctor's name is Max Jacobson. He was born in the early 1900s and he was in Forden, Bromberg, the German Empire.
I'm sorry, can you say it again?
Forden, Bromberg. Yeah. Bromberg. Yeah.
Yeah. So good. So good.
Yeah.
Are you German?
He was Jewish. A Jewish German.
Ooh.
And during that time, you can see that it probably was not good for him to be in that area.
That's so terrifying.
Yeah. Scary, scary things. Okay. He was a butcher's son. They grew up in Berlin. He worked in the hospitals during World War I. So he got some medical experience while he was working there. He loved science and biochemistry. He was just like, oh my gosh, like, get me in this lab. Let me work on things. Let me concoct some things. Let me save some lives. Loves it.
Perfect.
So he ended up earning a medical degree from Friedrich Wilhelm University of Berlin. It's now Humboldt University of Berlin. Words.
You're doing great.
I'm so good at this.
I'm really proud of you.
Like I said, he was Jewish, so he fled in 1936 to the U.S. He opened up a medical office in the Upper East Side of Manhattan.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay, so like I said, he was known as Miracle Max or Dr. Feelgood because he gave, like, the best medicines to make people feel good.
Okay.
He called them his vitamin shots.
Is this like Norman? Remember Norman?
Oh my gosh.
From the Crescent Hotel?
Yes. Oh, it's very similar, actually.
Watermelon seeds.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So he would put various substances, like amphetamine, methamphetamines.
Oh.
Yeah. He also was known for a miracle tissue regenerator that he created. It had amphetamines, animal hormones, bone marrow enzymes, human placenta, painkillers, steroids, multivitamins.
Dang.
Did it all.
But it seems like he's
this wasn't
actual
this wasn't
medicine.
fruits and vegetables.
Right. I mean, whereas Norman was just like, what crap can I inject in you?
Well, I was going to put this in the compost, but I think I'm going to put it in a shot instead.
Now it cures cancer. Congratulations.
It's in your body. So he was like, you know what? I'm not going to go test people in the lab or test it on critters. I'm going to test it on myself. So he did. He would test it on himself before he would give any person an injection of it. So he was like, if I'm surviving, they're going to survive.
Okay, so like, he believes in what he's doing?
Oh, yeah. Other people did too, because one female patient described the after effects of these shots orgasmic. They were that good.
That's why they said Dr. Feel
good. Made her feel real good.
Sometimes my dad listens to this.
Oh,
sorry,
amazing.
Dad.
Sorry, Daddy.
Love you. So it's not like, because Norman, he was for sure like totally a scam artist. Knew he was ripping people off. This guy is actually like, I think I'm helping.
This guy didn't really do it for the money. He did it more for like the notoriety.
Okay.
Yeah. He wanted people to need him. So he did this. He created all these like magic things, magic shots, magic cures, all the things.
I had this conversation recently. I can't remember why, but I feel like you kind of want your doctors to be total egomaniacs.
Yeah.
And if you've ever worked in a hospital, you probably already know this. That's what you want in your doctor. You don't want a surgeon who's like
questioning,
wishy-washy, or easily pushed around.
Yeah.
You want a surgeon who's like, I got this. Just shut up and let me do my job. It sounds like this
like
guy's
horrible
kind of,
bedside manner.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I had, he was a reproductive endocrinologist.
Amazing.
Here in town. And he had the worst bedside manner. And of course, we're dealing with like infertility stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it's emotional and heartbreaking
Yeah.
a lot. And then there's this doctor who's just the worst bedside manner ever. And I still remember he was like the top one in town. Like that's who you went to.
Yeah.
But everybody I've mentioned him to is like, oh God, isn't he just like, he's so cold. And I'm like, I know. But I mean, also I have my 2 daughters.
Right.
So he helped me, but
he knew what he was doing. But oh my gosh.
It's amazing.
Yeah. That's how it was with my doctor when I had my C-section with Sophie. Like the worst bedside manner ever. And I was just like,
just no reaction.
But her dad was like, I've worked with him. This is how he is.
Yeah. People have told us that too. They're like, listen, just be ready. You'll think he doesn't care about you, but he's the best in town.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay.
All right.
They were correct.
Sounds
on both
good.
counts.
Sounds good. Okay. It was known that Dr. Jacobson used large, like heavy amounts of amphetamines in his day-to-day work.
No wonder people loved him.
Right. It says that the doctor's office reported that he would buy amphetamine at the rate of 80 grams a month, which was, they calculate to be about 100 strong doses of 25 milligrams a day. Yeah. People are just like, well, what if this is like part of the drug problem in the U.S.? Like all these celebrities and stuff
maybe
would go to him. So
yeah. So of course it would make you feel amazing.
Right.
And you're addicted to it now.
Yes.
It's more than just fixing your pain. It's also you become dependent on it.
Yes. And he also wouldn't tell his patients that that was what was in the shots.
So they don't even know why they're addicted.
No, he just would tell them this is like gonna make you feel better.
Oh.
By the 50s, he was treating all sorts of stars. Rosemary Clooney, George Clooney's aunt, allegedly.
She's not allegedly his aunt.
Right.
She's just allegedly
went to him. Yes. Allegedly Elizabeth Taylor, Judy Garland.
You know, Judy Garland
Kennedy.
popped in my head a few minutes ago. I think I have sort of heard of Miracle Max because of Judy Garland. I think I've heard that connection.
Yeah. It said he got a reputation with singers who would lose their voices, actors with stage fright, authors with writer's block. He would give them vitamin shots. I'm doing air quotes here. And also Tennessee Williams as his like miracle worker. Yeah, the writer.
Wow.
It was like his miracle worker. Also, there were a few articles that I read that he injected Marilyn Monroe with his concoctions right before she sang Happy Birthday to
Kennedy.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm going to start with Kennedy.
Okay.
Because that's where my rabbit hole mainly was, but there's several others that I'll tell you about.
Okay.
So I know this because I love reading about Kennedy and all the conspiracy theories, but if you don't know, he had a slew of health issues from the time he was young, like super young. People thought he wasn't going to make it, like so sick.
I didn't actually know this either, so
okay.
Tell me everything.
Okay, perfect. He received several injuries when he was younger, too. On top of being really sick, he got an injury while playing football, like a spinal injury. He got injuries while in the Navy, I think he was. Yeah, the Navy. And so, like, one of his ships was blown up and his back injury, all this stuff. Like, he swam and gathered his people and would bring them back to shore. Like, he got a Purple Heart because of his bravery and taking care of his people.
Wow.
So, all of this just killed his body pretty much. So I'm always like, he was like the youngest of the presidents, but also
all this had already happened. That's what I was just thinking, like, gosh, already like, so young.
He was not able-bodied.
Oh.
He had to wear a laced back brace that kept him stiff, like sitting or standing as straight as possible. And it was said that he was wearing that back brace while he was sitting in the car when he was shot. And that's why he immediately didn't go down because that brace kept him up.
It's interesting because that's definitely not a thing I've ever known of him. I've never heard talk of him being like having any sort of physical issues.
Yeah.
But then I was just remember the episode you did on Edith Wilson?
Oh, Edith Wilson.
When Woodrow Wilson was so sick, but they didn't want anybody to know it because it's like you're the leader of the Western world. Like you want to be seen as invincible. So I guess nobody wanted him.
Right.
They didn't want people to know that he had any sort of physical issues.
Yeah. They finally released his medical records years and years later, and doctors were talking about how, like, if he had the technology we have today, like, he would have been fixable, but back then he would have done anything, which is what he did. So he turned to muscular injections of like lidocaine and like numbing agents to block that nerve pain. He just couldn't handle it. Like his campaign, like doing all this stuff, doing all this traveling was killing him. So he found Dr. Max Jacobson and got an injection. And he was like, wow.
Oh, no.
What a difference.
Yeah.
This is wild. So then he was like, you know what? I'm going to hit you up a second time. I'm having some issues with my larynx. And I'm getting ready to go into this big debate against Richard Nixon. And I just kind of need it. I need things to work.
Right. To be able to speak.
Yeah,
clearly.
yeah. So he did. And he was like, I did it.
Wow.
Like I rocked this. So this guy is a miracle worker.
He is Miracle Max.
Jackie was also known, his wife, to receive some of these injections. But Jacobson was like, I'm a member of the president's people. Like, I am now a part of this, which I said he wasn't in it for the money. He's in it for the fame.
Right.
Like,
so
he doesn't
he's
want
got
the
a really
fortune.
famous client.
Right. Exactly. So,
And is HIPAA not a thing?
Right.
I guess
You're just
not.
like,
I don't know when HIPAA became a thing, but
they kept the fact that Kennedy was one of his clients a secret for a good amount of time. And so he was so much of a regular of Miracle Max or whatever, like Dr. Feelgood, that Dr. Jacobson's receptionist would say, Mrs. Dunn is calling. And that would be code for the president's on the phone.
Mrs. Dunn.
Mrs. Dunn is calling.
Is code for President Kennedy.
Yeah. So
Okay.
the doctor would literally stop working with a patient, leave the room, and go talk to the
Mrs.
president.
Dunn.
Yeah, Mrs. Dunn.
JFK.
So it said that Bobby Kennedy was so worried that he was just like, I'm going to stuff some of these vials from my brother's stash that this doctor gave him to go have them tested because this is getting to be a lot. And he confronted him and he was like, what are you doing? What is happening with your life? Like, why
he
are
confronted JFK?
Yeah.
Okay.
He was like, why are we doing this? Like, why do you have this doctor around you all the time? And JFK was like, I don't care. Literally says, I don't care if it's horse piss. It makes me feel good.
Yeah. I mean, and if you're in just chronic, constant pain, of course you would want that, you know?
Yeah. Do you know of the situation with JFK in the Carlisle Hotel where he gets naked and runs around?
No. Naked.
Naked. Okay. He was just like cracked out pretty much. Running naked in a suite in the Carlisle Hotel in New York. He just received an injection of who knows what from Miracle Max. And he was just like out of it. He was running around, dancing around the room, took off down the hall, and there were people standing.
What?
Yeah. The Secret Service was like, what the heck?
Yeah.
What if he makes it to the lobby? There's photographers,
the
there's
president
reporters.
of the
Yes,
United
they're like,
States.
what on earth is happening? So they finally get him. They give him a sedative. They're like, what the heck are we doing here? By the end of 1961, they were so concerned about this whole situation that they got George Berkeley, who had been the White House physician since Eisenhower was there, to take over for Kennedy's health. And he brought over Dr. Hans Kraus, I think is his name, K-R-U-S, or K-R-A-U-S. He was also known as the father of sports medicine, and he just was like, okay, we're going to get you off this stuff, and we're going to figure out what's going on with your body.
Okay.
So,
well, that's good.
yes, so that all happened.
That's the whole thing of like, we're not treating the symptoms. We're going to treat the problem.
Exactly. Yes. So then Mickey Mantle was one of his clients.
Oh, okay.
Uh-huh.
We've talked about this before, but I need to say it again.
Yes.
The movie 61.
Mm-hmm.
It's about the race between Mickey Mantle and they kind of talk a little bit
Roger
about this.
Yeah.
Yeah, about Mickey Mantle and he was in so much pain.
Yes. Yeah.
Because that was kind of why.
You know why he was in so much
because
pain?
of this.
Uh-huh.
Y'all got to watch that movie.
Yes.
God, it's good.
Dr. Jacobson gave him an injection into his hip, and it caused severe abscessing and a septic infection at the injection site, and it hospitalized him. Mm-hmm. So it really messed with his career. Yes.
And it looks like his skin is dying all around him.
Uh-huh. Yep. Another patient of his, Alan J. Lerner, wrote My Fair Lady. Lerner told the Times that he would see Dr. Jacobson a few times a year. If he got a sinus infection or something, he'd go see him. But he was like, he's a great man. Like, he is super intelligent. He's so good at what he does. I really question what he does.
I think this doctor, or Miracle Max, I think he just He just really thought he was helping people. And I guess he was in some way, just not in a healthy way.
Yeah.
Because you're also getting them addicted
Exactly.
to drugs.
Well, that's what Mrs. Lerner said. She testified that her husband was addicted to the injections for Dr. Jacobson. She was quoted saying that he's told her that helped him to write faster. So she's talking and she's like, he said, maybe the injections will destroy me, but they make me see life in a good light.
Oh my gosh.
He was just like, listen, I'm not addicted, but I'm not going to see this doctor. Like, I'm done. Like, he was a good friend.
It's
but
my
I just,
choice.
Right. I just saw him for
anytime I want.
sinus infections.
Right.
We didn't. She's crazy.
It's not about the
She's
meth.
crazy. She's just dogging. Okay.
You know how women are.
Yeah.
Ugh.
But she claims that he visited Dr. Jacobson's office at all hours of the day and sometimes stayed all night. She told the court that her husband had persuaded her to take the shots too, but she quit after a few months because the shots made her feel bizarre and very high.
Oh.
Another one was Bob Richardson, a top fashion photographer who was making lots of monies on his pictures.
Mm-hmm.
In an interview, he said, I had heard about this doctor through a friend, a fashion model. She kept telling me about this doctor who gave injectable medications in vials. They made her feel marvelous. She didn't say what was she didn't say what
felt great.
She felt amazing. She didn't say what was in them. I was told he worked with all sorts of chemicals which are extraordinarily good for your health and well-being. So he was like, I'm going to hit him up. I'm going to make an appointment. And they said that the doctor wouldn't make an appointment with you unless you knew somebody that knew somebody.
So that does start to sound like he's hiding things.
Yep. So he was like, I started going once a month. Then I started feeling so good that I'm going to go twice a month. He said every time I went to see him, he would talk to me about my problems, what life's like. So he became a really good friend. So he was like, I just couldn't live without it. I was a total addict. He said sometimes I would get a vial. Dr. Jacobson would go away or something. People would be lining up in the waiting room and there would be pandemonium. Like people would be freaking out. He said over the period of months, he became very close to him and he would take him to London to attend parties and just all of these fun, lavish things. And he would just give him his injections there. So it was like a mutual beneficial friendship. Yeah. He said, I was black and blue from my knuckles to my shoulders. God. Yeah. I also got shots in my foot and the back of my neck. He gave me shots in my spinal column and right between my ribs where I had a cold. He finally got a break when the doctor refused to give him an injection of the regular medication, instead gave him a tranquilizer. So he said the next day, I went berserk in my home. I went mad. I was committed. And I was put in a straitjacket. So he was like, I was severely depressed, the usual aftermath of an amphetamine addiction.
Yeah. He went through withdrawal.
Yep. By the late 1960s, the doctor, he became like crazy, like increasingly erratic. And it's all because he was using as well. He was using his own concoctions because he was testing them on himself. And then he was like, I feel so good. I'm going to keep using.
I was going to say, it gave him the high. Of course he wants to keep doing it.
And it's like he's on speed. So he was literally working 24 hours a day.
Wow.
He would see 30 patients per day. And one time in 1969, one of his clients, former presidential photographer Mark Shaw, died at the age of 47. The autopsy showed he had an acute and chronic intravenous amphetamine poisoning. And the doctor's staff was like, yeah, we bought large quantities of this stuff, so it's quite possible. So the Bureau of Narcotics seized all of his drug supply and took away his medical license in 1975. 1979, he tried to get it back. They were like, but no, listen,
absolutely
we cannot do this. This is not happening.
Wow.
And they were like, you cannot
you don't get it back
ever again. One, because what did you do to all these people? And two, look at you.
Yeah.
Like you're a hot mess express now.
I wonder if he wanted it just so he'd have access to the drugs again.
Yeah.
I'm sure he lost it.
I'm sure, yeah.
Or at least it wasn't as easy.
Yeah. And then he died a year later.
Wow.
Yeah. After having his license and drugs revoked.
How old? 79?
So early 1900s. So maybe 79 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. What a wild story. Like, I wonder how he even it just seems like really dangerous to just start mixing stuff together.
Exactly.
But I guess if he's testing it on himself first,
Yeah.
then he's like, it's safe, it's fine.
Well, and if he worked in the lab in Germany and did all of this stuff for the war, he was somewhat familiar with all that stuff. And
that's true. So he knew what would do what. And yeah.
Like he actually studied medicine, so maybe I don't know.
But he
didn't want to work with infectious diseases. He wanted to make people feel good.
And I get that. I get really frustrated with the medical system now because I feel like the whole thing, like they're just trying to treat the symptoms.
Right.
Just mask the pain and move on.
Yeah.
But it's like, well, but if you would take the time and effort to treat the problem.
Right.
Then there wouldn't be any symptoms.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that's harder and more expensive and it doesn't make them as much money because they want you to take prescriptions forever.
Well, that's like going and getting, my sister Aubrey and I both have thyroid issues, and that's like going and getting tested for it. And they're like, oh, you don't meet these 3 criteria. And you're like, yeah, but there's like 6 other tests you should be doing on us. And I meet every single one of those.
I could rant forever about insurance companies. I can't stand it. I mean, even just because it's made me think about all that fertility stuff we went through again, just having the insurance companies tell my doctor what he could and couldn't do was just very like, I'm sorry. Do you have a medical degree?
Okay,
no, you're just answering a phone.
Yeah, when my mom had her spinal surgery here not too long ago, I would ask her, like, are you going to stay another night? And she's like, well, if insurance will allow it. And I'm like, if insurance will allow it.
Yeah, it's not about if your doctor thinks you need it.
You're not ready to go home.
Yeah, I can't. It drives me crazy.
It's so crazy.
The medical system, at least here in the United States. I know outside of here, there's some better situations, but ugh. Okay, well, thanks.
Yeah, you're
that was
welcome.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I love these historic things
I know.
that we get on.
Yeah.
Okay. We love you all.
Yeah, so much.
Have a good day.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.